My name is Rebecca, and I am a no-dig gardener in Central Virginia. And I've had a couple of questions from viewers about why I use hay in my garden and not straw as mulch. This is an ongoing, raging controversy, quote-unquote controversy, in the gardening world. First of all, I want to say that to me, one of the most important things to do in a garden is to use mulch. To mulch heavily and to keep your garden soil covered at all times. Winter, spring, summer, fall. For me, that means usually using old spoiled hay. And sometimes I also use straw, depending on what I can get my hands on. Now, why do I use hay and prefer hay over straw? It's not a super strong preference, but having read Ruth Stout, who was an organic gardener who sort of pioneered the lazy garden method of deep mulching back in the 50s and 60s and into the 70s, she wrote for Organic Magazine. She was a firm believer that hay was great for optimum usage in the garden. In fact, she just grew straight in spoiled hay. Sometimes she'd throw some manure on top and then cover it again with hay. In fact, that's how I do my potatoes, my Ruth Stout potatoes, and they grow great. Hay has a lot of nutrient value. I guess one way to remember it is that hay is for food for animals, while straw is bedding for animals. That helps me remember that hay has more nutritive value than straw. Because it is grass, it is the whole grass. Straw is the leftover shafts from harvested grain. Now, both are going to add organic matter to your soil over time, and that is something that is really super crucial. I think that hay, to me, it composts a little bit faster, and I just like what it releases into the soil. However, straw is a super, super good insulator, and I certainly use it when I can't get my hands on old hay. Old hay, what do I mean by old hay and old straw? I mean, I get hay twice a year delivered. I get it with the first cutting in the spring and then in the fall, and I just let it sit outside. That is anathema to people who have animals and who want to have their hay for use for animal food because you don't want it to rot if you're trying to feed animals. However, I am looking for compost, and I'm looking for anything that's going to compost down into my soil, and hay fits the bill really, really well. A lot of people use the word hay and straw interchangeably. Technically, and you understand what that means. But hay is the actual grass that's been harvested with the seed heads on it, and straw is the shafts left over from a grain harvest. Which brings me to one of the issues of controversy. People say that if you use hay in your garden, you are going to get a lot of grass sprouting. True, if you use hay straight off the baler, if it has seed in it, because those seeds are going to germinate. One of the reasons that I let my hay spoil is that it spoils those seeds. Now, do I sometimes get some grass sprouting? Yeah, sometimes I do, but it's super easy just to pluck it out. So let me just show you what my Ruth Stout potatoes look like. That is, in a nutshell, why I use and prefer to use, just to clarify, I use both old spoiled hay and old straw as mulch in my garden. Number one principle is keep your garden well mulched. Mulch, mulch, baby. That's the name of the game. That's crucial, however you do it. Why I prefer hay is the nutritive value that it had as grass, and that adds back into my soil. So, thank you so much for watching. Hope this doesn't stir the pot of controversy too much, but clarifies things for you. Take care. Bye. There's my sweet husband.